Hello everyone and welcome to Project Cars for a very special event. It is the Ginetta X eSports Cup, obviously on Project Cars, and well, the reason it's so special is because we have 15 of the fastest PC drivers on the game who will be battling it out across 2 races here today, and not only for pride actually, the winner will take home a prize pot of £1,500, so it's a lot at stake here, and these guys will be pushing to the absolute limit. We'll go through the format and stuff in a bit more detail in a minute, but in terms of myself, I am Fizzy, and luckily I'm not alone in the commentary box today. I am joined by a man who is part of the Project Cars team. He's also an experienced online racer himself. It is the Project Cars guy, Yorkie065.
Hello guys, thank you very much Fizzy. Hello to everybody there in the chat. Obviously I was here for the 2 finals yesterday on both Xbox and PS4, and once again I am back with my right hand man Fizzy as well for the PC final, so I'm very much looking forward to this final on the weekend and showing what the PC guys have on offer.
Indeed, so we've already seen yesterday what the Xbox One and PS4 guys were able to do, some great action there. And while these guys are going around the Alton Park Island circuit for their qualifying laps there, we have a 10-minute qualifying session, which is a few minutes underway already. I will show you a quick graphic of the entry list for this event. So these are the 15 drivers that set the fastest times in the time trial event that were held a couple of weeks ago around Snetterton 300 circuit using the Ginetta GT4 car, so slightly slower version of the Ginetta machine. And you can see very close times there. Kaki topped the leaderboard, but only 0.6 of a second separated these 15 drivers across a track that is nearly 2 minutes long. So that shows how close these guys are and just how competitive this race is going to be today. Unfortunately, a couple of these guys didn't make it to the lobby today. Kind of unsure why they didn't make it. We are missing SDL Sonic and Mr. Beast. But all the other 13 guys are present and will be fighting it out on the track, Yorkie. I obviously know a few of these drivers myself from experience in the AUR League, Kaki, Mangator, and Nova, but most of the names I'm not too familiar with. I don't know about you.
Yeah, there's a couple of other names that pop up. Cluck is one of the key community members within the Project Cars game community, and also met him at the Le Mans trip as well. It was good fun meeting him there. Mr. Bees was one of the other drivers who I do know of, but unfortunately he couldn't make it today. And then we've got like yesterday in the Xbox and PS4 leagues, we've got a number of esports teams. Obviously we've got BAM being represented by Kaki, Nova, Balearic, and
Tommy Killers.
That is the 3.
Tommy Killers as well. Yeah, they've got 4 drivers.
Tommy Killers, yeah. And then we've also got the SDL guys, with obviously Mangator, Daytona, and I believe that's just the 2 of them.
Well, there would be Sonic as well if he had a pair.
Yeah. Yep, and then we've got TX3 represented by Ludovic Hackquad, Thomas Deeproot, and Sylvian Ferret as well. So
Indeed.
We've got quite a few drivers there. There's a couple flying solo without an esports team, so it'll be interesting to see how they hold up against the potentially more experienced guys. But like you said, there's a couple that we know from the Apex Online Racing League as well. Cluck is from the Revolution Motorsports community, and yeah, it's going to be a good mix of drivers, both some from time trial, some from proper racing. More racing-focused backgrounds, so it'll be interesting to see how they hold up in these 2 races that we're going to be hosting here for this PC final. Yeah,
so as Cluck spins and potentially taps the wall a little bit, I guess it's worth pointing out there, damage is turned off, so that's fortunate for him as he's waiting for a clean part of the track to rejoin here. Yeah, in terms of the lobby settings, it's the same as the PS4 and the Xbox Ones were yesterday, of course. There's no damage, there is no tire wear or fuel usage to be worried about. And yeah, we will be running 2 races here. First at Alton Park Island, where we are now, and then a race at Brands Hatch GP. Both races will be 15 laps, and with a 10-minute qualifying session. And of course, it is the overall winner in terms on points out of the 2 races that will take home the prize. We are using a Formula 1 point system, so the top 10 score points, and obviously the higher up in the top 10 you are, the more points you score, with 25 points for the winner. So the win very much, well, if you win the first race, basically, you're very much in a good position to take home the overall win, but of course, much to be done in the second race as well, Yorkie. Don't know if it's anything else regards to the format that I've kind of forgotten to mention there.
There was one thing certainly, which was the default setups.
The
drivers are on
exactly
the same setup, so we tried to make it as fair and equal as possible. The second thing is the £1,500 isn't the only prize on offer that Ginetta are running with this championship. The other one is a chance to win one of 3 GoPros, and basically in order to be in for that raffle, all you needed to do was sign up to the competition and enter in from the start with the time trial, and it could be any random person. You don't necessarily have to have had to make the qualifiers or the finals, so it could be any of the drivers who entered into the tournament as a whole. And the final thing, I just wanted to correct myself. I said Revolution Motorsport. That's completely wrong. It's Revolution Sim Racing. As I just rightly being corrected by today, Manu, a good friend in the chat. So sincere apologies for that. It is Revolution Sim Racing.
Well, I'm sure we'll forgive you. Quick, we got 2 minutes left in the qualifying session. I'm just gonna show you a cheeky graphic of the car that they're running today. We are using the Ginetta G55 GT3 car for these 2 races, with the same setup as you mentioned, so all on a level playing field. And it's a car, well, based on the stats I found on the official Ginetta.com website, which is a nice one to get more information about Ginetta and their cars. It is a car that can do a top speed of 180 miles per hour, engine capacity of 4.35 liters. It's a V8 engine in the car, maximum power 470 brake horsepower, and a 1,190 kilogram weight on the car. So, in other words, a very impressive machine to race around.
It is definitely. It's pretty awesome watching these things in real life. I haven't actually seen the GT3 version for real. I've seen the GT4 version and obviously driven the G40 Junior, but Ginetta obviously very successful in real-world motorsports. They're trying to make their name a little bit more with the G57 prototype in the LMP3 class, and yeah, they also have been racing in the VDV motorsports as well, and having some great success around the world with the motorsport name. Yeah,
and a lovely looking car to look at as well, as we see Tommy Killos at the moment going through the last few corners of the lap to try and get a last-ditch effort in. Here, as he's coming across the line, let's see if he can improve on the P4 he's holding at the moment. He stays in P4, and as these guys are just trying to use the final 20 seconds to get a final lap in. Kaki's already in the pits, but he's currently in provisional pole position, same with Magator. He's just rolling on the pit entry for some reason. Ludovic is also on a lap, but not far enough around to get that effort done. Any final people around at the end of the lap? No, there is not, and their session time is about to run out. So here we go. This is the grid for the first race here today. Kaki on pole position ahead of Mangator, only 1/10 of a second separating them. Then Lugavit Hackard, God, that was a tricky one to say. Tommy Killos, Daytona Nova, Thomas Deprout, Bam Balearic, Flame Phoenix, Roman GR, Sylvan Ferret, Hades 92, and Cluck. That is the grid. And we are jumping straight into the action here for the first round, a race around Oldham Park.
We are indeed just waiting for those 5 lights which come up now, so we're going to have to quickly jump into the spectator box and try and pick up someone near the front of the field. And it sounds like there may have possibly been a little bit of contact somewhere along the line, but to me it looks like all the drivers got through the first corner pretty smoothly. A couple of drivers jostling for position. Tommy Kilos is right behind Ludovic Huckard, and looks like he's dropped back a little bit, but is coming under pressure from SDL Daytona, who's having a look initially to his outside, then the inside. He's got another car trying to come up behind him. So far, there's been minimal contact until I say that, going through the hairpit. A little bit of contact and bobbing and pushing and shoving from a number of these guys, but no spins so far. Most of the drivers still pushing on, and so far seems to be relatively clean from these PC guys.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive start, to be honest. Obviously, damage turned off, so they might be inclined to push a little bit more than I normally would in the race that has damage turned on. And but so far, no major dramas as far as I can see, and these guys will be just putting their practice to work and do as fast lap times as they possibly can now for the remaining 14 and a bit laps in the race. Obviously, what's
just
going on?
Having a look, battle for 10th position with Cluck. He's having a little bit of a look to the inside of Flame Phoenix, but wasn't quite able to get his nose alongside coming into the final corner. But Cluck has made up a couple of positions in this opening lap, with the two TX3 guys, Thomas DeProot and Sylvian Ferret, behind him in 12th and 13th. So be interesting to see if he could work his way up through the field, and he's going to quickly jump back up towards the front as well. As the guys are starting to spread out just a little bit. Currently watching Bam Nova in 6th position. He's got SDL Daytona in front of him, and Bam Nova running very, very deep there on the brakes, almost making contact with the back of Daytona's car.
Oh, there's an incident between Ludovic and was that Tommy Killos as well in the wall. Tommy Killos tried to go side by side, but there wasn't enough room for them both. They kind of merged together from what I could see, and they've both lost quite a bit of time. Luckily for them, no damage on here, but that's going to hurt them quite a bit as the car straight lining the chicane as well. That is Thomas DeProot, who's gone straight on at the chicane and lost quite a bit of time, down to last place for him. As there's a car also flashing his lights now. Ludovic not too happy with what happened there. He's behind Tommy Killos now and probably flashing his lights in a bit of frustration after what happened there, Yorkie.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what did happen between those three. I only saw the aftermath of it after watching the driver in front, but Ludovic Hockard, as you can see, not too pleased with the flashing of the lights. May also possibly been trying to distract Tommy Killos in front of him, but they've lost an awful number of positions, dropping down into 10th or 11th. I'm not actually sure, was it between those two that the contact was made?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, they've lost an awful lot of positions, and also Thomas DeProot, after straight lining the chicane as well, he stopped under the grass and basically waited for everyone to go through before rejoining onto the track. So a couple of drivers have gained some positions from that. Just jumping up to Bam Nova, who's now in 4th position, still chasing down SDL Daytona in front of him. And then you've got Mangator and Kaki kind of starting to pull away off into the distance a little bit. And there's a couple of car lengths between the two, but it could be a two-way fight. Ooh.
Cluck has spun it out of the chicane there. Unfortunate for him, he has made up a few positions from at the start, as you mentioned. About 4 or 5 positions gained after starting down at the back, but now he's back at the back after having forced it to spin into the wall. But he will get away at least without any damage because it is turned off. But yeah, it's going to make it much harder for him. And as you mentioned, back at the front, Kaki looking quite comfortable at the moment with a reasonable gap to Mangator, but he's less than a second. Mangator really trying to pile the pressure on here. Two guys who I first-hand have seen the pace of in the AOR leagues. These guys are absolute aliens when they are on form, and so far looking like the class of the field here in the first race at Alton Park.
Yeah, I think they've actually gone quicker than their qualifying time as well, with 1:16.885 was the fastest lap for Kaki, which he set on the previous lap as well. Mangator was only a 10th, or less than a 10th actually, slower than Kaki was. So very, very good even pace between these two. Hopefully we also see if the gap can close up between either of them, as Daytona is still running ahead of Bam Nova, and there's a bit more of a gap to Bam Balearic behind, and there's a little bit of a train forming behind Romanga 3007 with Hades, Flame Phoenix and Tommy Killos all in fairly hot pursuit.
Yep, a nice little scrap going on here for a 6th and a down. These are the final sort of points positions, of course. Points are awarded down to 10th position. And, well, you never know what's going to happen in the second race, so every single point here in the first one is going to be crucial to try and get. Roman GR currently doing well to hold off these guys.
Flame Phoenix.
Yeah, it was looking a little bit to the inside. These guys went side by side through this corner on either the previous lap or the lap before that. Nice and clean racing on that occasion. This time, then Phoenix was not close enough to Hades to make that happen again. But he's definitely putting the pressure on, and behind them as well we have Bam, Tommy Kilos and Ludovic both trying to recover from that accident that they had earlier. But as actually Flame Phoenix looking at the inside of the hairpin right now, and it's a nice clean move so far. Hades doing well to leave enough of a space, but can he get the acceleration out of the corner to keep it side by side? No, he cannot. He slots back in behind. Will he be daring down into the chicane, try for an inside move? No, he doesn't. So that is a great overtake done from Flame Phoenix.
Yep, very nice move there, and very good driving by Hades92 as well to recognise that the move was coming and avoid making contact. So good first stuff there between those two drivers. It's what we like to see. And we've had that swap for position, but the gap is still fairly close between a number of these drivers. Romanga 3007 has now got Flame Phoenix starting to close up onto the back of him, but it looks like these 5-6 drivers are pretty close in this nice little train. Just going to quickly take a look at the leaderboard times. Mangator seems to maybe have a slight problem on the previous lap, but he's dropped back a little bit to Kaki by about 4/10 on the previous lap. But he's still pulling away from Daytona, who's got Nova behind him for relatively close company.
Yes, indeed, as the battle is still raging on. There might have been a tiny bit of contact there as Flame Phoenix is on the grass briefly and losing a lot of speed on the exit, and Hades now going to be pushed under pressure from Bam. Tommy Kilos coming out the inside of the hairpin. That's where he lost a position on the previous lap. This time he did gain a position at least first before losing that one, but unfortunate for Flame Phoenix, he's now down in 10th position after that little drama, as is that Hades trying to get a move back on Tommy Kilos. He couldn't quite do it. Tommy Kilos defending well into the chicane. So this is a lovely battle to watch here. A train of 5 or 6 cars blasting it around Oldham Park. It's obviously a circuit that is quite tight and twisty and not too easy to overtake, but these guys showing that they can bring in some good action.
Yep, definitely. The second track, Brands Hatch, does lend itself a little bit better to overtaking, as it's got slightly longer straights. Therefore, drivers can make use of the slipstream, but it does also have some very high-speed corners, so it does kind of demand you to be alongside in order to actually make the move stick. But it looks like Tommy Kilos is getting pretty close to the back of Ramanga 3007 coming into the first turn. Almost a little bit of a switchback there. There's contact between two, Tommy Kilos, and I can't pick up who it was. It was Hades92. Tommy Kilos. That
was Ludovic as well. Getting one back on Tommy Kilos in a way, getting ahead, taking advantage.
I think Tommy Kilos was starting to lose the car a little bit coming out on the exit. It was a little bit slower, and the two drivers behind him were much quicker, but again closing up underneath the brake and coming into the hairpin. Hades now has Ludovic Hackard looking to his inside on the exit, but wasn't quite able to pull alongside, but that may have cost him a little bit of momentum coming down down the straight towards the chicane, as Tommy Kilos behind him was looking to try and find his way past. I saw Ludovic there flashing his headlights once again to Hades in front of him, so possibly a little bit of frustration starting to settle in with a couple of these guys.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's impressive how these guys are fighting, and of course, as mentioned before, all on default setup, so everyone on the same playing field here, and that's why it's even more impressive actually though, that Kaki and Gator are able to pull out the gap that they are at in front, considering it's the same setup, and especially considering all of these guys who have managed to qualify in the top 15 in the time trials are absolutely fast drivers, and yeah, to be that dominant with the default setup, that it's very, very impressive indeed. But of course, for Ludovic and Tommy Kilos, the incident that they had has made it much more difficult race than they would have wanted so far. Roman GR still holding on to that 6th place. He hasn't really been challenged too much, and when he has been, he has managed to keep his head cool, not put his foot wrong at the moment. But now there is that Hades just behind, who's just given him a little look in the mirror going into the chicane, and yeah, we might want to look back at the gap out in front just to see what is going on, what the gap is like. But at the moment it looks like Yoki that Kaki still has got it under control, and the battle around the 6th place position is where the action is.
Yep, I did have a little bit of a look earlier on in the lap, and they're kind of pretty evenly spread out between the top 4 drivers up there. So I think this battle for 6th is the one to watch, as Romanga's having to go defensive to Hayes behind us. He was having a look to the inside, and there's actually been contact between Lukovic and also, I believe, Tommy Kilos.
Again?
Yep, there was. Both the drivers reset into the track. And
oh my god!
Ludovic blocking Tommy Kilos there as they were starting to get back up to speed. Again, obviously, Ludovic not happy with that at all and wanting to make sure that he maintains his position. They've got Cluck now come up into the fray with that in 13th place as he's closed up onto the back of these two. Have they've recovered, but not very... Oh, it must be frustrating for those two to once again be involved in a little bit more contact, especially for Ludovic.
It just shows, even with damage off, it just shows the importance of clean racing and keeping it clean. Because of course these guys will have qualified through the time trial, but when you come to a race situation, it's not only the pace that matters, it's also the consistency and the racecraft. At the moment, Ludovic and Tommy Kilos, obviously I didn't see the incidents well enough really to push any blame on either of them, but certainly for one or both of them the racecraft hasn't quite worked out so far in this race, and they're nearly towards the back of the field at the moment. But the battle rages on then in this train that is now basically a three-man train instead of a 5-man train, and Flame Phoenix is putting the pressure on Roman, who's actually lost out to Hades, it must be said. Hades now up to 6th position. Roman now desperately defending that 7th spot.
Yep, Flame Phoenix behind, looking like he is the faster of the 2 drivers and is really starting to apply the pressure. Thomas De Proot is also actually closing up onto the back of these guys as well, and took 9/10 of a second out of them on the previous lap. Obviously, I think 1 or 2 of these drivers may have had, actually no, they were in front of the Ludovic and Thomas Kilos battle beforehand when they spun off to the track. So actually Thomas De Proot, despite having to avoid that contact earlier coming out of the final corner, still set a lap that was 9/10 quicker than the 2 guys in front. Obviously the battling is slowing these 2 down, and kind of what was going to be a 2-way fight is now bringing it back to a 3-way fight, as Hades 92 is starting to pull away in 6th position.
Yep. Just gonna have a quick look up through the field as well to see what's going on in the top 5, where it does seem to be spread out a little bit. Bam Balearic 42, quite lonely there in 5th position, but of course to pick up 10 points for combined standings. Bam Nova.
Romanga's just gone and lost the position to Flame Phoenix. Flame Phoenix was having a look down the inside coming into the final corner. Not too sure if there was a little bit of contact there, but Romanga's gone and lost an awful lot of momentum, and Thomas De Proot is now having a look around the outside coming into turn 1. He's going to go for a little bit of a switchback move here. Will he be able to get the run coming out of that corner? Yep, he's going up alongside coming into turn 2, but they're now coming into a very long turn 3. He's actually gone and lost the car. He's got to cross the grass on the inside and make contact with the wall. That's very, very much unfortunate for him and also for ourselves as well. Looked like there could have been a good battle developing between those 2, and it would have been interesting to see them go side by side coming through turns 2 and then into turn 3.
Yeah, it was looking like a nice clean battle was shaping up there, but don't know quite what happened for Thomas to suddenly end up on the grass, but yeah, didn't work out for him, despite looking like he was going to have a run down into turn 2. And it has to be said, it's not quite working out for the TX3 boys so far in this race, running 9th, 10th, and now Ludovic down all the way in last position, with Cluck having managed to pass him up to 12th. What is doing?
Ludovic just made contact with the tyre stack on the inside of the chicane. He just turned in a little bit early and smacked into the front of that, which spun him round onto the grass on the outside. So it's going to cost him an awful lot more time.
Yeah, he's already last. So he's definitely going to be last now, I think. Obviously still 4 laps remaining in the race, so still mistakes that can be done by these drivers, but considering how much practice they've done, you don't expect too many mistakes from them, especially when they're running by themselves on the track. Closest battle probably now is Sylvian, Ferret and Bam Tomakilos for that final points position in 10th place. And yeah, Yorkie, it's been, I don't know, eventful, yeah. I didn't catch all of the PS4 and Xbox action yesterday. I did catch some of it. That also looked pretty incident-filled. I don't know, how does this compare to that so far?
I'd say probably so far it's somewhere between the PS4 and the Xbox One. The first race for PS4, there was some incidents in the first lap, but things settled down a little bit, and then they settled down even more coming into the second race once they kind of got used to the drivers around them. Xbox, however, they seem to struggle with the car a little bit more, and I think we're overheating the tyres, and most of the contact kind of came just from people unfortunately being caught up in other people's mistakes. But here it seems to have come from actually trying to race side by side, possibly the same as well in one or two places. It can be quite difficult to tell, as like I said, we've only really caught glimpses of the incidents, but just watching this battle for 10th place at the moment, Sylvian Ferret is got Bam Tommy Kilos coming up behind him fairly quickly, and is now only a car length or two, and has actually taken about 3 tenths out of Sylvian Ferret in front of him, and there's going to be pressuring in the next couple of laps to try and take that final points position.
Yeah, that he will. Quick check then, back towards the front. Kaki currently dominating this race, as he has done since taking pole position. He is well, definitely a few seconds ahead of Mangator, probably 3, 4, maybe even 5 seconds ahead at the moment. He was also half a second quicker on the previous lap, so Kaki running well out in front. SDL Daytona currently holding on to the final podium position, not too challenged either. Bam Nova in 4th, then a big gap. This is the biggest gap on track actually, from 4th down to 5th. There is Bam Balearic. I feel like he might be caught slightly by Hades at the moment. Yeah, actually on the previous okay, it's only up 1/10, but yeah. I feel like Hades definitely was further back earlier in the race.
Yep, the gap is coming down, and actually Romanga's got Thomas De Prout coming up and closing up behind him for the battle of 8th position as well. Let's take a look at the lap times on the previous lap. Thomas De Prout actually taken 7 tenths out of Romanga on that previous lap, so that's going to be an interesting one to watch in the last 2 laps. And Tommy Kilos has actually made the move past Sylvian Ferret as well off screen. We've missed that one. That's happened very recently.
Yeah, that's what tends to happen. It's hard when there's a few battles going on. There's hard to know where to look. So we just about caught Thomas De Prout sliding through the hairpin there. He's definitely lost some time. That's going to hold his charge to try and get past Roman GR. Definitely lost about a second or so to him as a result of losing the back end. Yeah, as I mentioned, Tommy Kilos up into that final points position now in 10th. Silvern dropping down to 11th. Cluck not too far behind these actually as well in 12th position. Unfortunately for Ludovic though, is not gone his way this race. He's well back in the last spot at the moment. New York is only, well, are we on the final lap? When it says 1 lap remaining, yeah. So Kaki is actually on the final lap of the race already. That's flown by, which is no surprise considering the pace that he's been running.
Yep, he's still down in the 117s. So very good consistent lap times by him, is down in the low 17s. His fastest lap is a 1:16.885, which I believe is the fastest lap that we've seen in this Ginetta X tournament. He's just given a cheeky flash of the lights as well as he was driving past. He was probably aware that we
don't want to get too cocky.
Watching him. Yeah, it's very easy to lose it and completely ruin your chances. He's got a little bit of a gap though to Mangator behind.
Yeah.
And has Daytona been closing up, or has that gap just stayed the same? And Mangator's pulled out a couple of attempts on the previous lap.
Yeah, I think the
gap's just stayed the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bam Kaki now coming down the little back straight down towards the final turn, and he'll be coming out of that to take the win of round 1, providing he keeps it clean.
Yep, so Kaki now coming onto the straight to take the win of the first race here in the Ginetta X eSports Cup on Project Cars. Flashing his lights, is clearly very pleased with that effort. Great job from him. Mangator also a good race in 2nd place. Daytona the same in 3rd. So a double SDL finish on the podium. And Bam Nova taking on 4th position there with Bam Balearic as well in 5th. So a good result for the Bam boys as well. Hades takes 6th position. Famed Phoenix in 7th. Then Thomas De Prout gets 8th in the end, which Roman GR has dropped 2 positions there. I think on the final lap, just on the end there, he's dropped behind Tommy Kilos down to 10th. So Tommy Kilos takes 9th instead, and then we have Sylvain Ferret in 11th, Cluck in 12th, and the final position will go to Ludovic Hackard in 13th.
Yep, he's coming out the final turn now, and he's going to be coming across the grid. So Very interesting race there. Saw some good battling. The first lap was cleaner than the PS4 and also the Xbox first race final. So hopefully we can have a repeat of that in the second race, and hopefully the second race will be a little bit cleaner altogether, as well as there was a little bit of bumping and shoving. Whether it is intentionally or not, I can't quite tell when it's kind of happening on the side of the screen and you're not able to quite see it 100% as you're flicking back and forth through the drivers. But yeah, high hopes and expectations for race 2.
Indeed, just worth pointing out, I guess, just for anyone who might be wondering, who have been looking at sort of the driver list and wondering where STL Sonic and Mr. Beast have gone. Unfortunately, they did not attend, or they didn't appear for the start of the event. Unsure as to why. I'm sure they have good reasons, because why would you want to miss this event after qualifying, doing so well to qualify in the top 15? That's how it is. And yeah, I guess we'll now be getting ready in a second for the second race, which will be at Brands Hatch GP, another British circuit, and hopefully more good action to be had there.
Yep, so we'll take a very quick break. We'll just get the lobby set up and ready for that second race. So go make yourself a quick cup of tea or coffee, and we shall be back in roughly about 5 minutes' time.
Yep. See you in a bit, guys. We'll be back with Brands Hatch very shortly indeed. We're heading into the dusk, so start picking out some reference points you can use in the night time. 15 hours of reference points you can use in the night time.
Howdy, two back now. One back now. He's looking. He's in there. He's in there. Which 12 is it on, right? 12? We're coming. Jack, we're coming. Nobody behind him.
Hello guys, we are back with the action here from the Project CARS Ginetta X eSports Cup. I'm Fizzy and with me is Yorkie still. We haven't changed the commentary team just yet, and this is the second... Howie! Okay. Yeah, this is the second race of the event today with the 15 of the fastest, well 13 considering 2 of them didn't show up, but 13 then of the fastest PC drivers on the game facing off in the Ginetta GT3 car. Around a couple of British tracks. We had the first race around Alton Park Island, where the man in the image right now, Kaki, took home the victory, and the second race will then determine the overall victor of the £1,500 prize money, as Kaki is having some issues now in his outlap in qualifying. But yeah, Yorkie, it was a very interesting first race, and how does this Brands Hatch circuit compare to Alton Park?
Well, it's a lot more open and flowing. Sorry, 1 second. I've lost train of thought. Right, so yeah, it's a lot more open and flowing. Obviously, the corners are a lot more medium speed and high speed, apart from this corner here that Kaki's now entering, which is the hairpin second gear corner. There's a fair bit more room to overtake than there was previously with Alton Park. However, this time you do need to get your car alongside, as the braking zones are pretty short for the majority of all the corners, and therefore it can be a little bit tricky to essentially brake later than someone else and kind of do a mini dive bomb on them. But yeah, as you were saying, we've still got the same drivers as before. We haven't lost any of the others. Unfortunately, SDL Sonic and Mr. B's haven't turned up for the second race either. So yeah, it's the same drivers that we had in the first race.
Yeah, and despite a few dramas for some of them in the first race, good to see they're all still here. And yeah, currently watching Kaki on his first qualifying attempt. I guess we'll just follow him till the end of the lap because, well, knowing what happened in the first qualifying session, yeah, pretty sure he set the provisional pole lap quite early on, so you never know, this could well be the same for him as he's coming across the line to set a benchmark for the rest of the guys to beat. Kaki sets a lap time of 1:22.7, slightly longer lap time around here compared to Alton Park, so it'll be a slightly longer race as a result, considering it's also going to be 15 laps. But so far, Kaki, with 11 drivers having put a time in so far, he's again on provisional pole, but you can see the time's quite spread out compared to what we've seen from him not only in the previous qualifying but also in the time trials, in the qualifiers at Snetterton. So I suspect that the gaps between the drivers will come down a lot as the session here goes on.
Indeed. I'm just having a look at the leaderboards. It look like Bam Nova has dropped from the session as well. I can't see him there, so we'll see if we can try and possibly get him back in. But yep.
Are you able to
Kaki
try and invite him? I don't know if you have him on your list.
Bam saying his game has crashed. I do have him on my list, so.
Okay. Good, check him and invite if you don't mind, just so I can keep my my camera on the drivers here to
Indeed.
let the drivers enjoy the view of the Ginettas coming around the track, flying Phoenix. This man we're watching at the moment around the final corner as he's trying to get another lap in. He was sitting in P2 after the first round of laps coming in. He's now down in P4 as he is coming across the line to, unfortunately for him, not improve on that effort. Mangator has put himself up in second place. That's also where he qualified in the first race. Tommy Killos at the moment currently holding on to third. And Ludovic, just as I dropped down there, managed to pop himself up into fifth place with Balearic. Daytona coming across the line actually now, so he will stay in seventh place. Hades 92 in 8th at the moment. Sylvan Ferret in 9th. Thomas 10th. Roman 11th. Clark 12th. And oh yeah, then unfortunately Nova, who is no longer in the session, but hopefully he will be able to make his way back.
He did momentarily pop back in, and he drove out of the pits and went straight into the pit wall. So he has re-left the session, and I'm going to try and get him back in once more. So do you carry on talking for the moment?
Okie dokie.
I shall try and fix this issue.
Not sure who that was. There was a car spinning into the wall back there. There's been a few mistakes made so far in this qualifying around the track. But as mentioned before, we are still running with the same settings as in the first race, so no damage for these guys. And no fuel to worry about, no tire wear, and still running the default setups that is forced on all the drivers here today. So it's all about the driver skill for these guys and their pace around the lap. But obviously in qualifying it's about one lap pace. In the race it'll be about not only pace but also consistency and racecraft, as well as we very much saw in the first one. Cluck currently starting another lap. He did just complete one but stays in 12th, which is bottom of the order at the moment. Kaki still holding on to provisional pole by 2/10 over Flame Phoenix, so Flame Phoenix has improved on his time then. Those two are the only ones into the 1:22s at the moment. Balearic is in the pit lane with just over 3 minutes to go, so maybe he is happy with his 1:23.1 lap time, or he's just trying to get his mind ready for a final push towards the end of the session. Mangator now in 4th position. He was the closest challenger to Kaki in the first race, and he definitely, this is definitely not going to be an improvement on this particular lap for him, as he's now parking it, or just letting that car come past. It's crucial, of course, to give yourself a good amount of space around you when you go for these qualifying laps, just so you don't get caught up in someone else's mistakes and don't get distracted. Either Yorkie, are you ready to do some talking again?
Near enough. It doesn't look like Bam Nova will be able to make it into the session. He's having issues with his game each time he drives out, and I can no longer unfortunately invite him back in, so
yeah.
I think he's stuck in that sense. So I shall quickly get myself back up to speed with this qualifying session. What is going on? Lap times are looking pretty close. Most of the drivers within 1.5 seconds of each other, so that's pretty good stuff.
Yeah, not too bad.
Ooh, Flame Phoenix on the long left-hander leading out onto the back straight, had a slight moment and spun off into the wall.
He's back in the pit, so that's going to be his qualifying over, actually.
Yes, he is not going to be able to set another lap time. So that's pretty unfortunate for him. Trying to figure out, he probably wouldn't have been able to have made it around the rest of the lap if he continued normally to start a new lap time. So a few of these guys are probably on their final laps at the moment.
The time in the session, 1.5 minutes to go, so they really need to start their final lap now. There's a big slide there for one of the cars just ahead of Mangator. Hopefully that will not put him off too much, Yorkie.
Yeah, that was Ludovic Hackard, qualified in 6th position at the moment. He had a spin coming out of one of the corners and crashed into the wall, but he has now returned back to the pits.
Yeah, and Mangator comes across the line for his final attempt, stays in P4, so it's going to be worse qualifying for him compared to the first race. Tommy Killos, I think, is too far back the track to make an improvement here. Sylvan Ferret, probably a similar story, not completely sure. He might just have time to complete it. Roman GR will also be pressed for time. Kaki at the moment, provisional pole, and back in the pits. And Flame Phoenix, very impressive for him, considering he was sort of in the middle of the top 10 in the first race, but now qualifying in second at the moment. Let's see, is anyone else within range of completing a lap? Maybe Tommy Killos, Yorkie. He's around halfway through the lap at the moment, but a final sector to go.
Don't think he's going to have enough time to get round.
Oh, it's going to be close. Well,
no, he's not going to be able to do it.
He might have to cut a few corners to get there in time, to be honest. 12 seconds to go. He's only got one corner to go, but he's got that big straight before it as well. Yeah, it's just going to be too late for Bam Tommy Killos. So I think we have the qualifying order as it stands at the moment, and there it is. Bam Kaki on pole for the second race running, just showing his extremely alien-like pace up there. Flame Phoenix, impressive for him in second place. Bam Balearic, SDL Mangator, Bam Tommy Killos, Ludovic Hackard, SDL Daytona, Thomas DeProot, Sylvan Ferret, Hades 92, those are the top 10. Then we have Roman GR 3007, Cluck in 12th, and unfortunately Bam Nova missing out after disconnecting earlier on.
Yep, so we are back on the grid once again, waiting for those lights which are counting down now. We'll quickly hop into the spectator cam and try and pick up someone for you, as it looks like Hades has...
Koggy's been jumped at the front.
Really?
Flame Phoenix into the lead of the race, into the first corner. That is a great start for him.
Hades running out wide on the exit of turn 1 as well. A little bit of drama. He's managed to rejoin back onto the track though. Carry on, Fizzy.
Yeah. Oh, it's very close. Kaki drift from wide onto the grass. He might drop another position here. Is Kaki? I think Kaki is down to third. He's trying to challenge back Mangator for second place, but he has to settle in third at the moment. He's still under pressure if this camera will change to help me out. And yet Kaki stays in third just about. That is Daytona from SDL just behind him as well. And Yorkie, this is a very interesting first lap. I think there was some incidents going on in the background as well.
Yes, there was. There was an incident between Tommy Kilos, Romanga, and Hades 92. I think there may have been a little bit of contact, and someone led into a spin and kind of spun across the track, and they collected another 2 drivers. Also, Clark has had a slight moment somewhere along the line as well, and although has made up 4 positions off the start, he's dropped back from the main pack of the field as Sylvian Ferret runs off deep, and there's actually 2 cars there going side by side as well further up.
Oh, there's contact though!
Thomas DeBrute. Who was it?
I think that was Sylvan Ferret into the wall with some contact with Thomas DeProot, I believe.
It was SDL Daytona.
Was
SDL
it?
Daytona was one of the drivers, yes.
Wow.
He's dropped down behind Cluck now, so Cluck has got some drivers around him to worry and focus about. And actually, SDL Daytona having a look down the inside, coming into the first turn on this lap. Cluck potentially going for a little bit of a switchback, isn't quite able to make it move, but there's actually been more contact between some drivers as well. Cluck is now having a look down the inside of Daytona, but isn't quite able to get his car up alongside in the braking zone. But Daytona up into 5th, Cluck now up into 6th, but there's 2 drivers who were off in the gravel and the grass off to the side on the exit of turn 1. So there's been some more drama here in this first race, and as you were saying earlier, Kaki is now down in 3rd place, right behind Mangator in 2nd, and Flame Phoenix out in the lead in 1st.
Yeah, man, this is dramatic at the moment. Lots of incidents on the start. Basically, after the first half a lap, there was a huge gap from 7th place downwards. Now we even a few more drivers have dropped down. So we have Sylvan Ferret running in 4th, and then several cars close behind. What are you seeing again?
Kaki had a slight wiggle coming through the 3rd of the 3 fast right-handers, and has lost some ground to Mangator a little bit, dropped back probably about 3-4 car lengths.
Cluck making a move, I think, on that would be Tommy Killos for 6th position, either making a move or defending, I can't quite remember. And they've got Balearic right behind them for company as well. Very close racing here for 6th position. But yeah, obviously throughout the race we'll have to try and work out how the overall points are going to work out, especially with Kaki now not leading the race. It's going to be a little bit more tricky to figure out, as Clark has not had the best exit out of the first corner here. He's putting himself under pressure. Tommy Kill is going to try to go around the outside of turn 2. Clean racing from these two, leaving each other a nice amount of room, and they're still going to be side by side down into turn 3. Tommy Kill is now with the inside line, and he gets that move done very nicely indeed, with Balearic now trying to take advantage as well on Clark on the inside in the next corner, and he does get that move done. So some great racing here, Yorkie. Good to see some action now as well without contact, which is good to see.
Yep, there's nice clean racing. There's actually Thomas De Prout and Romango was going side by side as well, leading on to the back straight in the background. Cluck, unfortunately, despite putting up a pretty good fierce battle, he's now actually run wide as well, coming through that right hand and into the gravel, rejoining the circuit in a pretty safe manner. He's gone and lost another position though to Thomas De Prout, so he's dropped down into 9th place. But I was saying, although putting up a very tough defence, he was on the outside for turn 3 and kind of got squeezed a little bit out onto the grasscrete and the very harsh curb that's on the outside there, so that would have cost him traction coming out of that corner, which then obviously cost him the 2 positions as well, as I'm starting to get a lot of lag.
Ooh, Kaki getting incredibly close to Mangator into turn 1 there on the 5th or 4th, I guess it would be the 4th lap of the race, unless I'm mistaken. And yeah, Kaki really trying to put that pressure on Mangator, of course, the man who finished 2nd also in the first race, but that was with Kaki in 1st on that occasion, so he definitely will need to keep Kaki behind in order to try and get that overall win. As it stands, Kaki will still stay ahead because the gap on points from 1st to 2nd is bigger than the gap on points from 2nd to 3rd. So really what Mangator needs to do is to not only defend from Kaki, but at the same time catch up to Flame Phoenix out in front. And if he can get past Flame Phoenix, then suddenly he will be in the lead overall. So, Yorkie, it's a tough task for Mangator, but he does have a chance if he can really try and close a gap to Flame Phoenix to try and get the overall win. Oh, it's Kaki! Oh no! Kaki's in the wall! Kaki is off the circuit. Yorkie, are you still around?
I am still around, but I'm having horrendous lag, so it's very much difficult to try and pinpoint where people actually are on the circuit. So I'm having really bad lag for Kaki. Mangator's not too bad, so neither is Flame Phoenix. Most of the drivers seem to be okay, but I had some weird moments going on there. Fizzy, you still there?
Yep, that's not ideal, obviously. Not ideal for Kaki to drop lots of second after losing it there on the penultimate corner, I believe, or going into it. And yeah, an uncharacteristic mistake from Kaki, maybe pushing quite hard. Obviously, in the first race, he didn't have to put pressure on another car at all, because he was able to lead from pole to flag. But on that one, he had Mangator right in front of him, which maybe distracted him a little bit, considering you would assume that in the preparation for this race, these guys will mostly have been running laps by themselves with no other cars to really worry about. But of course, Kaki is an experienced league racer as well, so it's not usual to see him make this mistake. But that is going to allow Mangator then to focus purely on trying to catch Flame Phoenix. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like Flame Phoenix is in the mood to be caught at the moment, really, because he's running a very, very impressive pace.
Yep, his previous lap was 0.4 of a second quicker than Mangator's was. He's just about to come around to complete another lap now. Things have fortunately settled down for me without having to leave the room and abandon the stream momentarily. But Phoenix just had a 23.4, and then Mangator was 1/10 of a second slower on the previous lap. So the gap hasn't really changed between the two. Obviously, as you were saying earlier, Kaki had his slight moment and has gone and lost an awful lot of ground to Mangator in front of him. Sylvian Ferret is there in 4th and has got SDL Daytona for pretty close company behind as well. So that's a nice little battle developing for 4th position. Tommy Kilos in 6th, Balearic in 7th, with Thomas De Prout in 8th, Romango in 9th. Cluck is now running in 10th place. And it looks like we've lost a couple of drivers as well, as we only have 10 actual drivers racing left in the session.
You'd assume that there were a couple of the guys that were involved in whatever dramas were happening on the first lap. And yeah, Sunferret very much under pressure at the moment from SDL. Daytona is going to go up the inside here. Not a very usual place to make an overtake. Very good driving from these guys to keep it side by side through here with some very fast right-hand corners. And Daytona just about gets his car in front. Sunferret pushing very hard to not get him, let him get away with it easily. At the moment, SDL Daytona has got that 4th place in the bag. But with Sunferret and Bam Tomikilos just behind. So a nice little trio working their way ahead. It's worth pointing out that on the lap after Kaki had that mistake, he did pop in the fastest lap of the race with a 1:23.028. He's also followed that up with another 1:23 flat. So clearly, despite that mistake, Kaki is showing some incredible pace at the moment and trying to stage a bit of a comeback drive and maybe catch up to Mangator and Flame Phoenix by the end of the race.
Yep, unfortunately though, with those little statistic there, Fizzy, you were wrong. Actually, Flame Phoenix has the fastest lap of the race by only 1,000.
Oh, okay.
To Kaki. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, very, very close fast lap times between those two. However, on the previous lap, Mangator has actually taken 2 tenths out of Flame Phoenix on that previous lap. So that gap is starting to come down, and as you said, Kaki doing a 23.0. He is also obviously closing up to the guys in front, taking 6 tenths out of the leader and 4 tenths out of Mangator. So hopefully, with the guys on lap 7 out of 15 at the moment, very soon to be lap 8, those final few laps, we'll see this front trio close up a little bit more and potentially a 3-way fight develop for the race win in round 2.
Yeah, that's a dream, isn't it? That would be amazing if you saw that. And speaking of battles though, Tomikilos trying to stage a bit of a battle with Sunferret now for 5th position in the race. He's not quite close enough, I think, to have a move into turn 1. Obviously turn 1 being quite a high-speed corner here as well, so it's not too much of an advantage you can gain under braking, but it's a very tricky corner to nail the turn in and the racing line through. Sunferret slightly off the apex through turn 2, which is going to allow Tomikilos to get very close again, but not quite close enough into turn 3 to put his car alongside. Now he is though. Yeah, he's lost it. Has Sunferret on the exit there, and that has given Tomikilos the chance he needed to get himself ahead.
Yep, just a slight wiggle came out of the turn 3 there, which cost him the traction, and obviously Tomikilos, with no issues with the drive coming out of the corner, just was able to take that position away from him and slot himself up into 5th. Sunferret dropping down into 6th place. He just needs to be careful that he's not going to be overheating the rear tyres of the Ginetta, as once they do start to overheat, that's where we start to see more issues, which is what was happening with the Xbox guys yesterday, as they were tending to make one mistake with a slight slide, and then later in the lap a second mistake would end up following, as yeah, they just need to be a little bit careful and a little bit wary of the tyres. But he's got Bambaleric coming up behind him in 7th position, and then Thomas DeProot as well, which is Sunferret's teammate behind. But I doubt they'll be using too much team tactics, as this is a tournament designed for every man for themselves.
Yeah, it really is. Well, you never know. There might be some team tactics coming into play for these guys, but yeah, definitely it's about the individual racer in this particular event. And the Sunferret he's again lost at the same place, just on the other side of the track this time, and he's completely spun it off the track. It's going to be hard to reverse around and maybe spin around to get back. He's going to drop all the way down to 10th, which is currently the last position in the race. Still in the points, but last with a few guys having dropped out, and he's struggling to get that car back on the track. So Sunferret, a shame for him. He was having some good battles so far in the race, but now we'll have to settle down at the back of the field. Roman GR holding on out of clock by not too much for 8th position. Thomas DeProot trying to get close to Bambaleric now for 6th. Then Tomikilos and Daytona also quite close together. So there's a couple of duos here, Yorkie, and there is the trio, of course, out in front. Now Kaki definitely has set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:22.8.
Wow, that's very impressive lap time. That is the quickest that we've seen so far in this tournament. And Mangator actually set his fastest lap of the race as well on the previous lap. It was actually 4 tenths quicker than Kaki was on that previous lap, and only a 10th quicker than Flame Phoenix. So the gap between first and second is very slowly coming down. The gap between second and third has increased a little bit despite Kaki doing that fastest lap, which I think may have been on not the last lap, basically 2 laps ago. So yeah, very good, impressive pace by him. SDL Daytona's now actually got Bam Tommy Kilos coming up behind him at a fairly rapid rate. Just having a look at the lap times between those two, and it was half a second on the previous lap, and we can see that they're fairly close together on the track too.
Yeah. So the situation is this in terms of the overall standings here, with Kaki having won the first race at Oulton Park. He is currently holding on to the overall lead, despite being down in third in this particular race, considering that Mangator is on course for a second consecutive second place, which means that if it stays like this, they're going to be 4 points apart in Kaki's favor in the overall standings. Flamed Phoenix, I believe he finished in 7th place in the first race, which means unfortunately, despite winning this, he's not going to be close enough to those two if they stay on the podium to get ahead of them. But I assume that he will be moving up to third in the overall standings.
Depends where Daytona finishes. Daytona came
Yeah,
third
he's in fourth,
in the previous
actually.
race.
Yeah, Daytona.
He's currently 4th now, yeah.
Might have something to say about it. I think third and fourth will still put him behind Flame Phoenix just about, though. But yeah, really, what we need to look out for is whether Mangator is able to get close to Flame Phoenix, because that is the move that would change everything. If Mangator managed to get ahead of Flame Phoenix there, either by catching him and passing him, or Flame Phoenix making a mistake, then suddenly Mangator would be in the lead of the standings.
Yep, he would. And just having a look at the lap times, actually Mangator was 0.3 of a second slower than Flame Phoenix was on the previous lap. Kaki though was did another 22.875 this time rather than the 8.56 that he did previously as his fastest. So only 0.02 of a second off his fastest lap, and was a good, quick bit of maths, 0.6 of a second quicker than Mangator was. So possibly the gap is starting to close up a little bit there, and you can see it visually as well, that it has shrunk as well.
Indeed. Speaking of shrinking, Daytona and Tommy Kilos not having too much of a gap between them either. Tommy Kilos running quite wide on the exit of Chenbone, but managing to carry the speed here. I reckon Tommy Kilos will fancy a move for the fourth position here, considering the first race didn't quite go his way, and now he's probably looking to show what he can do and maybe challenge Daytona for that position. That would be a SDL versus BAM battle, which of course would be interesting to see two of the best esports team on this game. He's closing a little bit in the slipstream now towards well, on the back straight, but it's a tricky corner to pass on unless you're at least got some part of your car side by side before the corner, because it's a very, very high speed one, and same can be said for the two corners following it as well. So Tommy Kilos really needs a mistake from Daytona through this particular section if he is to be able to make a move, but of course they are coming towards the main straight now, Yorkie, and maybe something can happen there.
Yeah, quite possibly if you can get a decent run coming out of the final turn, be able to pick up the slipstream as they come across the start-finish line. They will only have 3 whole laps to complete, so he is running out of time here in order to make the move, and Kaki's actually closing up even more onto the back of Mangator. Yeah, that's 0.9 of a second out on the previous lap that he's closed down.
And a new fastest lap for Kaki again, not quite on the previous lap, but he has the 22.7 now as the fastest lap of the race.
Yes. Yeah, so blistering pace there by Kaki. The only man who's down in the 23s. Everyone else is, 22s. Everyone else has done a 23.0 or higher. Actually, no, Tommy Kilos actually has done a 22.825, and Neil, he's actually very, very close to the back of Daytona, in front of him like he was on the previous lap. I don't think he was quite as close this time. So hopefully he'll be able to stay relatively close. There were a couple of car lengths between Kaki and Mangator. But I think the closest battle that we've got at the moment is Daytona and Tommy Kilos are going to take a very quick look down the field, and yeah, everyone else seems to be spread out just a tiny bit more, not much though.
Good to know, as yeah, Tommy Kilos will now have 2 laps, plus this one corner coming up to try and make this move. And Daytona really needs to keep his head cool now to not let the pressure get to him in the final couple of laps. So far he's doing well, even though Tommy Kilos has shown, especially with that 122.8 lap, that he does have the pace to pass, but as I remember you mentioned during one of the streams yesterday, catching up to a car is one thing and getting past by making a move is very much another. And you can just see how close Tommy Kilos is through turn 2 and going into turn 3. But as long as Daytona keeps his car on that racing line and gets decent exits out of the corners, it's going to be very, very hard for Tommy Kilos to make a move. Quick check on the gap. Kaki almost equally close to Mangator as Tommy Kilos is to Daytona. So it's 2 BAM guys pressuring 2 STL guys at the moment. And will he go for an inside move? He goes for it! Now Tommy Kilos at the end of the back straight, and he gets it done cleanly as well. Very impressive indeed. He might have to defend a little bit from Daytona now in the next few corners. But Yorkie, that was an opportunistic and a great move from Tommy Kilos.
Yep, very good driving by Daytona as well to give him the room that he needs. It's very, very difficult to overtake in that corner, and I think Daytona's made a slight mistake there as well, which is going to cost him an awful lot of ground and momentum. So he's dropped back halfway between Tommy Kilos, who's just taken 4th place away from him, and Bambaliric, who's closing down in 6th. Going to quickly jump up to Kaki in front as he was having a little bit of a look at Mangator for 2nd place. So this is going to be the next fight that we need to watch on. Mangator going very defensive, coming into the hairpin. Kaki trying to go around the outside, going for a little bit of a switchback here. Will he have the run down towards turn 3 to make a move for that 2nd place, that podium position, and definitely securing the overall win in the final? He's certainly looking very eager, but he needs to be careful, because if he does make a mistake and Mangator is able to hold on to 2nd, and if Kaki drops back through a spin or contact or whatever, he could potentially end up losing the overall win in the final. So he needs to play his cards right if he is going to make the move, but he's certainly looking like he wants to take that 2nd place from Mangator.
Indeed, Flame Phoenix looking comfortable out in the lead at the moment and will be taking the round 2 victory unless he makes a mistake in the final few corners. Mangator desperately trying to hold on from Kaki, who doesn't really need to pass him. He needs to be careful, as mentioned, to not make a mistake here, because Kaki, as it stands, has the overall win, because Mangator is only in 2nd and not in 1st at the moment. Flame Phoenix coming around the final corner to take the win in round 2 of the Project CARS Ginetta X eSports Cup. Very, very impressive drive for him, and Mangator just about holds on from Kaki, despite just having a little bit of a rub with the wall there before the line. Kaki, though, will come on 3rd, and as it stands, he will take the overall victory from the 2 races with the most points, by 4 points ahead of Mangator as it stands. Obviously, the results provisional at the moment, but if it stays like this, then that is what will happen. We had Daytona in 5th position, behind Tommy Kilos, Bam Balearic, 42 in 6th. Thomas Deproux, that looked like a close finish actually. Deproux just getting 7th place ahead of Cluck there, who, well, Cluck has made up a couple of positions then from earlier in the race. Roman GR 3007 getting 9th, and then Sylvan Farrat, at least he finished the race, unlike a couple of other cars that dropped out earlier on. So Sylvan Farrat gets the final points position. And I can't quite remember off the top of my head which the 2 drivers ended up dropping out in the early part of the race, but really...
we obviously lost Nova,
yeah.
And
Ludovic Hackard, I guess would be one of them.
92.
And Hades 92, yeah.
Yep, those are the 2.
That's how it is, but this is the man who won the 2nd race here at Brands Hatch in the Ginetta X Esports Cup. And Yorkie, it was... yeah, it was a very interesting
race.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to see some good clean overtaking by a couple of other drivers. Obviously, we saw some contact there at the start as well, and a little bit later in the race, which is a little bit of a shame to see. But overall, Bam Kaki coming away with the win. Only 4 points, though, ahead of Mangator. Obviously, these positions are provisional. We will release the official results probably Monday or Tuesday, depending on stewards' inquiries and penalties, if any need to be applied. So for the moment, the provisional results stand as Bam Kaki in the lead with 40 points, Mangator with 36 in second, Flame Phoenix will take third ahead of SDL Daytona, and then we have we'll leave it as that at the moment, as we're still currently updating the leaderboards. At the moment, we have Joe Barron, who joined me in the commentary box yesterday for the PS4 and Xbox finals. He is behind the scenes and getting out the old calculator and working out the final standings. So yeah, good entertainment. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. Fizzy, what about you?
Yeah, very much enjoyed it. It was maybe a little bit more aggressive racing from some of the drivers compared to what we're used to, but that is no surprise really, considering damage off and much shorter races than I'm used to commented on as well. But certainly some really nice clean racing between some of the cars as well. And I guess I just have to say congratulations to Kaki, who unless something very something very surprising happens with the provisional results, then he will take home that £1,500 for the prize. So yeah, what else can we say? It's been a great event. Hopefully the drivers have enjoyed it. Hopefully those of you watching have enjoyed it as well. Is there anything else to say, Orky, before we head off?
Other than a very big thank you to Ginetta for helping organise this event. Hopefully we can collaborate and work on more in the future. Been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully those guys, if they're watching, have enjoyed it as well. But other than that, I think, yeah, just keep an eye on social media, guys. The Project Cars Twitter to find out the official results either tomorrow or Tuesday. And also, of course, for the final prize raffle that we'll be doing, where any of the entrants who have entered into this tournament from the start will be in with the chance of winning one of 3 GoPros. So look out for that, because if you've entered, that could be you.
Alright, well, in that case I think that wraps it up. As you said, thank you very much to Ginetta and of course the Project Cars team for hosting this event. I've been Fizzy on behalf of Apex Online Racing, and you have been Yorkie, I guess, still?
Yes, I have not changed.
You have still not changed. That's, I'm sure everyone is very happy that you have not changed. So guys, thank you very much for watching this Ginetta X Esports event on Project Cars. It's been great having you along, and until some more racing action in the future, I've been Fizzy, and I'll see you then. Have a good day. See you later.
Thank you. Goodbye.